I'm live. It's very annoying sometimes that I can't see when it exactly starts. I don't know whether that's just me. Okay, today is Monday, the 16th of May, 2022, and I'm reading out of Life in Spirit. This is Harry Edwards' account of the afterlife, and he says here in the sleeve note, he died in 1976. No, this book was published in 1976. I don't know when he died. This is the story of John and Mary, Annie John, Annie Mary, brother and sister, husband and wife, sweethearts, friends, the story of you and me. But with this difference, John and Mary have died and have entered into their new life in spirit. Harry Edwards was known throughout the world as a foremost spiritual healer. He was an author of many books, and he ran a beautiful healing sanctuary in Surrey, near Barolea, I think it was. Anyhow, so we are now at chapter 11, which is entitled The Animal Kingdom and Travelling. Hearing some rather glowing stories of the places where other living creatures than man were cared for, John and Mary decided they would like to visit them. But John's inquisitive mind made him ask the question, how do we know where to go, and how do we get there? He continued, it is rather strange, but I do not remember seeing a wheel since I came here. There are no vehicles, not even a bicycle. As his mind pondered over this, he realized he must not take conditions on earth as standard in spirit life, and thereby, where the use of wheels was a necessary physical aid to deal with traveling from place to place on earth, this did not apply in spirit life. Discussing this with Mary, she reminded him that on a material plane of life, the physical body was little more than the vehicle for the self. It enabled physical life to be maintained, to absorb oxygen in breathing, to take in nourishment, and to provide the fuel for the body to be sustained and a good health term maintained through the circulation. So far, they had visited places using the legs as a mean of traveling from place to place, without effort or tiring. They had no reason for measuring how many steps it took or what else may happen while they were doing so. Now, said Mary, here we are, sitting on the portico of our house. Look to the far end of the garden. Do not concentrate, just wish you were there, and I will come with you. A moment later they were together at the far end of the garden. John was astonished. Mary then said, I will go back and you will remain here. Wait until you see me there and then come back and rejoin me. Almost as she said this, John saw her disappear from his side, and looking to the house, there was Mary sitting in the portico, veranda, I dare say. It was but a natural sequence of thought for John to wish himself back with Mary, and as he wished this, so he found himself with her. You must remember, commented Mary, that your body is not the real you. It's just a vehicle for your mind to use. If you had journeyed on your own, and I did not know which way you had gone, I would only need to let my mind dwell on you, to desire to be with you, and I should be by your side. If you, John dear, had made a journey and lost your knowledge of direction and did not know the way home, you would only need to turn your thought to this house, to recall in your mind and to desire to be back here, and this would then take place. You would be back home. This is why we do not need carriages or cycles. When you have a desire to be with a friend, your friend will know of this simultaneously, and you can exchange thoughts and news or discuss projects without the need of being together. But, of course, if it was the wish of either of you to meet in person, then this would follow to be so. John quickly summed this up and said, so, it is impossible to get lost so long as you remember that which has gone before. Thus it was that John and Mary, wishing to visit the animals, found themselves in a different terrain. It was a landscape with trees, hills, and water. As they gazed around, a virile young man appeared and gave them a greeting and welcome. I have been sent to welcome you. I am one of those who look after the animals and encourage others to understand and love them too. I am known as Zimba, and lions are my special friends. I am known, come with me and be not afraid. You must remember that just as you are no longer earthly, but of spirit, so are all the animals as well. On earth, a lion has to kill in order that he may eat. When he has eaten, the desire to kill is away, and he will rest, and when he has supplied the food for his mate and his children, he is content for a while. As you know, here there is no need to eat to maintain strength. There is no hunger and therefore no desire to kill. This is so with all the animals. There is no need for an otter to eat a fish, or a bird to swallow a fly, or for an animal with claws to seek out its prey. You will find the animals have no fear of each other here. The impala has no need to be ever on the alert for an enemy, so it can use its speed to escape danger. In this spirit life, when you see the deer run and leap, it is an expression of freedom and happiness. Turning round the corner of bushes, John and Mary saw their first group of spirit lions, the females distinct from the males. They were lying down, pawing each other and stretching out luxuriously. When they saw their visitors, they stood up and walked towards them. Simba went a step or two ahead, and the lions came to him and muzzled him as he fondled their heads. Simba called out, "Come here," and rather tremulously John and Mary went up to him. As they did so, the lions turned to John and Mary and gently let their heads and bodies touch them, and soon they in turn made a fuss of their new friends. It seemed a great place, and great peace was with them all. They sat down, and the lions sank down too, content to have their human friends with them. News seemed to spread around, and more lions, tigers, and other animals came into the picture, anxious to join them in with all the others. They were all magnificent creatures, their skin stretched over muscled bodies and limbs glistening smoothly in the light. "Please talk to us, Simba, about your friends and life here. Can you talk to the lions? Do they understand you? How many lions have you? Do you need to have other helpers? Simba laughed. "Of course I will tell you, and what I shall say will help you to understand other kinds of animals as well. For the laws which govern us equally applies to all the other species, equine and porcine, those who were carnivorous and the other omnivorous creatures each have their curators and attendants. There are so many big-hearted humans who desire to devote their life's mission to the love and care of animals that they have to be limited, or otherwise there would be more helpers than animals. There is a head curator who is chosen by the masters, and he has to be responsible for the happiness of all his charges. As I have told you, I have the care, may I say, the spiritual care of lions. In numbers, the total is not vast, and I will tell you why. They are easy to talk to, as indeed are all those who inhabit the animal summerlands. As you make a close personal friend with a horse, a dog, or a cat, and take it into your innermost care and love, so you will know it will understand your moods and your intentions. They learn the meaning of sounds, the intention of your voice. They know when you are displeased with them, and you watch them wait to come back into favor again. "Let's go for a walk," you tell your dog. He knows, and it is up bounding, waiting for you to take him out. The horse who knows its rider knows what his rider wants, and if it to be jump hurdles, the horse knows just what to do and cooperates with his rider, putting every effort into the jump to please his master. In the same way I talk to the lions, to call them to me or just by name. If they want to go on a ramble, I know when we go along together. I'm sorry, now there's my dog barking to be let out of the living room. Sorry, I have to just... This is a little funny. Come on then, just don't be noisy. You ask me how many lions I have here. I must digress a little and speak of the regulating laws which govern life and, as you may learn later, apply to humans too. In spirit life, there is purpose with everything which exists, animate or inanimate. In earth life, and almost to the same extent in spirit life, if you provide a lion or any other animals with food, shelter, and a mate, it is content, it seeks no more. Give the same to a man, and he is not content. He wants more, to travel, to pry into things, to improve on on that which he has. This is the division which separates mankind from the animal world. Both are similar in so many other respects. The process of birth and decline into death of the body. Both possess similar emotions in love for each other, to fight for and protect their children, in bodily functions and its organic processes. But the animal has no ideals to aim for, no other goal to attain. So when the change takes place in a lion's life, unless there is some other factor, it has no other purpose to live for. You must also know, it is the law that nothing which exists can ever be destroyed. It can make a change, but all of it continues to exist. You could burn a forest by fire and all its elements and forces would continue to exist in some other form, possibly only as ash, which in the fullness of time would provide the means to assist other life forms of vegetation to grow. When an animal's life terminates, its body remains in the physical dimension in some other form, but not the life force, for that is of spirit. So far, no scientist has been able to create original life, for this belongs to the dimension of spirit. When any creature dies, it is very clear that some quality has left the carcass, the life force. Animals like man possess a spirit body, and at the passing, the spirit body arrives into spirit life. When, however, there is no purpose for an animal continuing to exist, having no special function to perform, then it goes to the source of life of which it is part, and its identity merges into the pool of life force representing the species the animal belongs to. With my lions, Simba continued, there is purpose and there is love. We learn to know and understand each other better. They care for me as I care for them. We are companions. You will find there are a godly number of people who devote themselves to the care and love of all the animals and birds. I am not the only companion of lions, and as you travel you will meet others, as you have met me. Could we have a lion in our house? Asked John. Yes, you could, came the reply, but you would need to love it so much that you could not leave it. You would know that it would become your place to serve the lion, and your conscience would tell you that a house is no place for a lion, for it needs its own natural habitat. But I've seen dogs and cats in the houses, and some birds, too, said John. They are the fortunate ones, the loved ones. They are happy to be with their friends. Wherever there has been a continued love link between a pet during its earth life, and this continues with the owners during his earth life, keeping fresh in his memory his love for his animal friend. The animal will be conscious of this too. It is kept and looked after by someone here until the friend arrives into spirit life. Often the dog or cat is the first one to greet the new arrival. It so happens that this is the means of telling the new arrival that he or she has entered into spirit through realizing the pet they cherished so long ago still lives and loves them still. There are always folk here who gladly render this service of looking after an earth person's pet, although this usually becomes the care of a friend or relative of the pet's owner. It is time you went on further, said Simba. I would like you to meet my brother, who has a fine troop of horses. His name is Jahad, and if you will join me in visiting to be with Jahad, you will soon be there. As John and Mary did this, so they found themselves on an expansive grass plain, broken by small hills. But there was no one in sight. "Have we come to the wrong place?" asked John. "Look," said Mary, and there, far away in the distance, could be seen a number of horses, very small, galloping towards them, with a mounted rider in the front. They soon arrived and surrounded their two visitors, the friendly horses nuzzling John and Mary. Jahad showed how pleased he was to bring his horses to be admired, and it was clear too that the horses shared his pleasure. They seemed to understand each other, and this prompted Mary to ask if the horses were talking to him. "Yes," replied Jahad. "The horse has a high degree of intellect, and while he cannot speak to me in words, I can speak to him by thoughts, so long as it is a matter which comes within his comprehension. For instance, I told them a short while ago that 2 friends had arrived to see them, and we should go and welcome them. As you see, they did. Numbers of horse lovers and other came to see this troop, for some of them are well known in the earthly history of horses. For example, that one." He called over to a fine animal with a noble bearing, and the horse came over to them. "His name is Eclipse, and he lived in your country about 100 years ago, and breeds of good racing horses can be tracked back to him. These other horses all have earth histories, and it is my happiness to love them and care for them, and so maintain their human associations with the histories of horses who served their worldly generations well." John and Mary gave their thanks to Jahad and his charges, and then wished to see the preserves where other kinds of animals were looked after. It was wonderful to see how docile and affectionate the very large animals were, and especially those whose nature and earth made them prey and live on other living flesh. Sometimes there were areas where different species of animals lived communally together, enjoying human companionship. There were animals of the jungle and the farm, domestic animals with the birds and fowl. Some would be somnolent, others frisky, with the inquisitiveness of the monkey, and apes often tormenting a sleepy one. John discovered that each of the communities needed the companionship of men and women to act as guides with directing minds, and there was no dearth of them. For many people, especially those who were not tied by very close human companionship, found their happiness and purpose in giving service in the animal summerlands. Before they returned home, a visit was made to the glades in which the birds are looked after. Here, the character of the country changed, with its tall trees, brighter hued flower-boughed bushes, and tinkling brooks. In this birdland paradise, our wanderers found people who were especially interested in different species of birds. Although the birds flew together, singing gaily, they came across persons with special interest, whose special interest lay in studying one particular species, such as parrots, weavers, or robins. Here there would be a place where the particular kind of bird would center on. There would be the water garden for the kingfisher, or the bushes for the chaffinch, and so on. In one such place they saw what appeared to be an unusual sight, that of a white-bearded elderly man seated on a stone. Around him were scores of sparrows, and he was talking to them. It appeared to the visitors as if he pointed to an individual one and called it by name, and the sparrow flew to him and perched on his finger. The man gently let his finger feel down the wings of the bird as he spoke to it. Then, as the sparrow took off, it flew in an intricate pattern, looping and turning before its human friend, as if to show him how clever it was, and to please him. The man nodded to his visitors and beckoned them to come and sit with him. They did this, and they were told to hold out their hand towards the sparrows. As they did this, so the birds came and settled in their hands, being gladly content to stay there, as if they enjoyed the human companionship of their visitors. "They love you too," said the man. Do you know how these birds got their wings and why sparrows are everywhere? John and Mary said they would like to know, and this is the story they heard. It was in the very early days of the world when God had created all the animals, giving them life and the ability to appreciate the warmth of the sun, the joy of drinking, the love of their mates, and the sense to seek cover from the cold and the storm. At this time there was a task which needed to be done, to carry some debris from one place to another, and the Creator, thinking that the animals would be glad to do this for him, approached them and asked for volunteers. To his great disappointment, one by one they offered their excuses and expressed their unwillingness to be of service in this way. First he approached the elephant, saying, "I have given you great strength and a trunk with which to carry things. Will you not help me in this task?" But the elephant replied, "Why should I spend my strength in such a way, unless I have some reward?" Next the Creator spoke to the lion, saying, I have given you the kingship over all the animals. Will you not help me in return?" The lion was disdainful and said, "Should a king work on such a menial task? Let the others do it, and I will rule them." The sheep also had the excuse, "Do I not give my wool? I cannot be expected to do more." And so the Creator found that each one turned his back on him, and he felt very sad at this ingratitude and selfishness. Now the little birds, who at that time had no wings and could only hop and sing, saw the sadness of their Creator, and they went to him, saying, "Please, may we do this task for you? It will take us a long time, for we can only carry a small pieces at a time, and we do not travel very quickly. But we shall be so pleased if we can do this for you, to make you happy again." So they commenced to work to move a great mass of material from one place to another, and as the little birds worked, their hearts were light from the joy of giving service. They hopped along in a little procession, singing with delight, and as they sang, so it seemed that the load became lighter and the journeying less tiring. This encouraged them to go on, never stopping, except for a drop of water or a morsel of food. Their happiness was expressed in their song, and the happier they were, so the lighter was their burden, and the more buoyant they became. They had not asked for any reward, and they did not expect one. The Creator watched them and was happy at the unselfish devotion of the little creatures, and so he aided their buoyancy, gradually giving them wings, that they could finish their task more easily. The birds, with their new freedom and ease of movement, went back and forth for more loads, and as they flew in the sunlight they twisted and turned with joy, for while they had not sought rewards, they were happy that their wings had been given to them, and happy too that they had been of service to God and his creation. John and Mary were asked if they could remember how the birds flew on earth, and the difference in the way they flew in spirit life. The friends of the sparrow, seeing their puzzlement, gave the answer. In earth life you find that birds do not fly for pleasure or happiness. They only do so for a set purpose. They fly from one place to another, possibly looking for food on the way, and they are always alert for danger and are full of fear. The only time when they are possible to rest is when they are in their nest. He went on to say, the sparrows, as you know, have possibly the most drab plumage of all the birds, and in the early days of their life on earth, these little birds held a gathering to discuss this and to decide what they could do to make up for it. They said, "We know we do not look so attractive as most of the other birds, but that need not matter if we have other good points. What we must do is to be always cheery, friendly, and not be fearful of other inhabitants of the earth. Then they will always be pleased to see us and will not mind or even notice our drabness." The Creator, watching the little creatures, was pleased at what he saw, and he decided that as a reward for their great courage he would permit these little birds to live in all parts of the earth, whatever the climate, there to give cheer to people who would welcome them, even in their houses. So, he added, everyone can see from this story of the sparrow, there is no need for a feeling of inferiority if one tends to be humble in nature or position in life. If one has warm friendship to offer and a happy smile, doors will always be open to welcome you. So that was the end of chapter 11, and next one is chapter 12, a visit to an art gallery. Please like and subscribe when it's on my BitChute.